So what's love got to do with it? It's the name of a movie. It's the name of a song. It's Tina Turner. And if you're a millennial and don't know who Tina Turner is, I would suggest you Google it.
My name is Agatha Juma. I am many things. And many things being, I am a daughter. I am the firstborn in a family of 4. I am daddy's girl. I love my daddy. I am a wife, 1 man, all my adult life. I have 3 children. And I am a friend. I have this small group of the most awesome people around me.
I'm not going to take you all the way back to her childhood. That was very challenging. I'll take you back to a very interesting and more fun part of her life. She was walking down the streets of London. I would say she was in her late teens, maybe early 20s. And this woman, who in today's world you would call fierce, was beautiful, looked like Sophia Loren, high cheekbones, big, thick hair, and a very curvy body, thin waist.
My journey has been a journey like other people's journeys which are not talked about. So I remember when I was in my 30s, I think 30 or 35, and I was feeling really frustrated. I haven't achieved much, I haven't done what. And I was told by a friend who I was lamenting to, he didn't take this pity party thing too seriously. And he said, if you want to get to 10, there's different ways of doing it. You could do 4 plus 4 plus 2. Or you have chosen to take the longer route, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 5. So that's what my journey has been. I finished high school. I'm from Nakuru, finished high school, and then I got a job immediately. I was serving behind a shop, loved it, because it was my opportunity to get out of home and out of Nakuru and earn some money. So my first salary was 2,500 shillings. It was a lot of money. And then I went to college. In between, I did tours and travel. Then I started working at the now defunct Block Hotels as a reservations officer. That's like years, yonks ago, when tourism was really tourism. We were busy. Then after that, I worked for a travel agency. I was doing tours. Then I moved to the Seychelles, where my husband was working. We lived there for 3 years. Came back to the same company. At that point, I went to college. I got my university degree. By that time, I had 2 children. And then I got another job, still within the tourism industry, as the CEO of the Kenya Tourism Federation. And that's when we started engaged.
I was knee-high. Unfortunately, half of it was the head. So, like, and the head, same head, you know, like this high. So, yeah.
I'm a Toastmaster. Toastmasters is an international club where people develop their leadership and communication skills. And Toastmasters has been the most transformational thing I have done with my life. And how I got into Toastmasters is when I was 30 and I had this job as the CEO of the association, I was sent to the UK, to London, to make a presentation at a conference. And I was chuffed. I was prepared. I went through the PowerPoint presentation, and you know, I really worked hard at it. This was my first official engagement out of the country. And so I arrive at the venue where we're going to make the presentation. No, first I arrive in London. The day before, I find my small hotel in Kajificheni, and I arrive at the venue in the morning, and the person who was making the presentation before me, I was the second one, was introduced in glowing terms. They were from the Caribbean. And man, their presentation was amazing. It had animals and forests and things like that. Mine had words. And when he finished, and applause was amazing. So it's one of these theaters where the person presenting is at the bottom and everyone else sits up this way. And then it was my turn. Oh, my introduction was awesome. So the butterflies in my stomach have now become bats. I am so nervous. I am sweating. It is cold. And I stand up and I introduce myself again, forgetting that I have been introduced because I am really, really nervous. And then the clicker thingy, I pointed it at my presentation, slide number 1. I spoke through it, I read through it. Then I clicked again and the thing didn't work. Now, I was already 200% nervous. Now I'm trying to press this thing and it's not working. I was 800% nervous. And I got a full-blown panic attack. And I was coughing, I was crying, then people came from the audience, some are banging my back, someone is trying to force feed me water. It was a mess. And so the MC said, we will take a break. We think Agatha is suffering from the effects of the London weather. You know, in Kenya, the weather's always so lovely. That made me feel even worse. So we'll give her a few minutes to compose herself and she will come back. I'm like, what? Me come back? So I took a break and eventually I did come back.
So I show up at her office and there's Janet with like 48 roses, chocolates, and some dude with the most annoying big car outside parked telling her, oh, Janet, oh my gosh.
When I came back to Kenya, I had a singular purpose. I needed to find a place where I could develop and grow my communication skills, because what had happened to me would never, ever, ever happen to me again. And where it was within my power, I purposed that it would never happen to anyone I know, because, man, that stuff was embarrassing. And I've had many embarrassing episodes of many different things in my life, but that, yeah, tops it. Second, tops it. So I joined SEMA Toastmasters Club in Nairobi. Google, I didn't know, I'd never heard of Toastmasters. I didn't know anyone who was a Toastmaster. I Googled, I attended one meeting, then I attended another one. I was like, this is it. This is where I'm going to grow my communication skills. And so now I've been a Toastmaster for 12, 13 years, I think. So while at Toastmasters, okay, from when I was a child, I have this insatiable appetite for stories, for listening to what's happening in people's lives. You may call it moshene, I may call it stories. I want to hear, and I want to learn, because motivation, at least for me, doesn't come from people who always have a platform, the politicians, the clerics, and media personalities. But it's ordinary people, my neighbor, my mother, my sister, my friends. And Toastmasters gave me that. It was really fulfilling listening to people's stories, but they were telling their stories as they were working on a project to develop a communication skill or a leadership skill. So my friend Dawn and I, we met at Toastmasters, decided we want to try and take this Toastmasters experience out of Toastmasters Club, because it is a club, which means only members attend and only members speak. But there's thousands of stories waiting to be told and needing to be listened to that didn't have a platform. I know it sounds simple, but that was it. So we sat and said, let's try something to have other people tell their stories, because the stories we have had, mini stories, 5 to 7 minutes, are really fascinating. How about we get many more people to tell their stories? And the idea sounded so simple in our heads. The execution was not, but sounded simple, and I guess that's why we tried it. So we're having a coffee one day and decided, let's try this. And so on February 14th, 2015, we held our very first Engage. So we'd had the conversation like in November, let's try something. Let's see whether people would be interested. And so in having a conversation, Dawn says, how about we do something on Valentine's Day? And we ask each other Valentine's Day who would come, and he says, which is true, that most people don't do much on Valentine's Day, especially people who have been with their partners for really, really long, like he has with his wife and I have been with my husband. Like, actually, yeah, we've been together all our adult life, so we don't like wear red dresses and go for dinner. And so we picked 5 people that we knew to share their stories, and picked the smallest theater we could find in Nairobi, which is the Austin Room at Braben School. holds 100, 110 people. And then we embarked on the process of finding people to attend. We're thinking, yeah, we'll get 50, 60, so we asked, we begged, we pleaded, we cajoled, we blackmailed friends, family, fools to show up, and it was a Saturday. And these 5 people had 5 different stories.
Why did you close the door last night? I told you that I loved you, but you walked away, you walked away.
So the people who came did not come because they knew what was happening. Some were curious, others just felt a strong sense of obligation because we're related or we're friends. But it was really gratifying to see a full theater. We actually had to turn away some people. So first, it made me realize how fortunate and blessed we are to have a strong support system. Number 2, just how overrated Valentine's Day is. And I guess a lot of the people came with their partners because you feel like you're doing something, but you're really not doing something cliche. And it was great. So we had 5 people, all the 5 we knew. They were Toastmasters. We had Ralph Palmer, who's now in his 90s, who spoke about the love of a man who lives in a slum for his family. Because the theme was, what's love got to do with it? What's love got to do with Valentine's? What's love got to do with anything? And this man wakes up every morning and walks to industrial area. He doesn't know whether he'll get a job or not. But he leaves home at 5:30 and goes and stands outside that gate. And by 9:30, 10, he's told, hakuna kazi. And he walks back home. And it is love that gets the wife to heat water for him to shower and prepare a meal for him, even though he hasn't brought anything. And it is love that makes him wake up the next morning to do the same thing, love for his family. So that struck me because I was thinking, you know how when you get past certain needs in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they stop being motivators? Yeah, love is a man providing for his family. Love is a woman seeing the effort of the man and encouraging him along. And I know it sounds really simple and stupidly simple, but it was profound to see it through those lenses. We had Anthony, who spoke about his uncle who had just died and his wife, and how they had created a life together over decades, and how the aunt was so lost because he was all her life. They had grown up together and then moved from where they lived and started a new home. And it was just a deep story of love, and love in a way that we don't think about love. Ewart spoke about a man a friend of his who had fallen foul of the wife. And the wife had asked him to leave. So you're thinking, girl power. And he said that this friend had refused to leave and had been sleeping on the couch for about 3 months and was determined to sleep on the couch, or if he's physically kicked out, to sleep outside the front door until the wife sees how sorry he is. I know. I was like, do you mean men mean it when they say they're sorry? But just the way he described it, and love is forgiving and love is kind, and this man was willing to do anything for the wife to forgive and see, yeah, I was stupid, but I am sorry. Here I am. And then there was Washera. She spoke about dating as a millennial and how wooing means absolutely nothing. Wooing is woohoo! And, send each other Snapchat and Instagram and Tinder things that I couldn't relate. But just the contrast was beautiful. And we had some young guys from Dawn's church who came to play music, just a break between the speakers. And at the end of the night, I was amazed at how how beautiful it had turned out, how ordinary people have such amazing stories to tell. It was phenomenal. People started asking when the next one is. Thinking, the next what? We hadn't thought that far. It's been 3 years of amazing stories and beautiful music from up and coming artists. So when we planned for the first one, it was nervous energy. And because we didn't have a benchmark, we had freedom to create and freedom to curtail our minds from going too crazy, but also letting it go a bit crazy. The second one, we hadn't committed to long term yet. I'm like, okay, it's around Mother's Day, let's try another one and see how these things go. So second one was called, we themed it, each of them is themed, we themed it Life, Love, Mothers, around Mother's Day. And we had 5 speakers again, speaking about motherhood and mothers. We had some music as well. We had Oyunga Palace talking about how to break up with your mother. As a man, you need to, at some point, break up with your mother. I'm thinking, okay, but it made so much sense. And we had the head teacher of NIS speaking about mother, the term mother, and what mother means to the universe. We had Uche Kaigwa speaking about taking care of Mother Nature, how bees are disappearing and what will happen when bees disappear, and trees, and how we really should not only conserve but consume that which comes from the earth. Interesting way of looking at motherhood and mothers. By that time, we hadn't committed to this thing long term. No, it was, okay, let's try another one and see. And because we turned away some people, let's find a bigger theater. So we moved downstairs to the Braben Theater. The main Braben Theater holds 400 people, and we had about 200, 220 people. So this was the first one that we recorded. It's the first set of videos that we have on our YouTube channel. The first one we didn't record. We didn't even have an official photographer. It was something nice. Let's try and see. So the second one, like, okay, let's take it a notch higher. Let's record, because people were asking where they can get clips of the first one, which we didn't have. And as we progressed, so the second one, 200 people, that's doubled the number. We're like, fantastic. This thing is growing. We can try another one. The third one, was a disaster. So we had begun a process of speaker preparation, because we realized we can't continue this way with only people that we know and only people who are Toastmasters, which means they have the discipline to prepare. We will need to go out. So we started thinking about a speaker preparation process. The third one, I think we had 70 or 80 people. Now, 70 people in a theater that holds 400 is empty. It was bad. And you could see either side was empty, and the video crew we had then, I don't think they were very sensitive, so they were zooming over the really empty areas. I'm like, so when you're watching the videos, it just hits you how empty it was. And the speakers were on point. But there's something about people preparing and then nobody shows up. I don't think there's anything more disappointing than that. So we thought maybe this was, short time thing, and yeah, let's give it a break. So let's try one more time. So the fourth one, we were aggressive about marketing. Marketing meaning letting the world know we're doing something, and please buy tickets. So the numbers went up to 250 again. And the greatest blessing that we have had is regulars. So we have 2 ladies who have attended each and every engage, from the first one to the 24th one. And how it has grown is someone comes and brings someone, who brings someone, and then one person drops off or 2 people drop off, but the people who come keep bringing other people. And because we didn't have a budget, we didn't have money to do this. Remember, we started it as we want to hear other people's stories. Word of mouth for us has been the most powerful medium of communicating this. And then once it was up on YouTube, once we established a YouTube channel, people watching and asking, what is this thing? And then sharing videos on WhatsApp and sharing videos with their friends. Or the other method of growth has been, because we have 5 speakers, there's people who come because they know X is speaking. They know John is speaking. So let's go and hear what John has to say. Then they're kind of like, oh, in fact, I enjoyed 2 of the other guys more than I enjoyed John. Let me come for the next one and see. So for us, it's been, because we can't claim that we were in this events business, we knew what we were doing. It's been a beautiful journey of trial and error, but our growth has been, even for us, phenomenal. So there's many more people like us who want to hear the people's stories and be informed, inspired, and influenced. And like our YouTube channel, it's been amazing. We have over 5 million views, I think now almost 6 million views, 45,000 subscribers. It's beautiful.
I was like, let me go see this chick, then I go to my place. So I went to see her. She made tea. When you are Luya, people are always sneaking tea, you know. So she made me tea. And I was having that tea. I didn't plan this, by the way. But somehow I said, will you marry me?
The greatest misconception has been that you need to speak really well to tell your story. You need to be a public speaker. So what we have found is those who do not often speak in public are sometimes the best speakers in communicating a message, because they're not relying on past experience or the way they communicate in the past, and they just want to share a story. So the criteria is you have a story that you want to share. The thing we have learned in working with over 150 people is that everyone has a story. Pick anyone here. They have a story. So it's whether you have a story that you want to share. Number 2, whether you're willing to commit to the process of preparing to tell that story for an audience. Reason being, a lot of us, when we speak, when I'm chatting with you and I'm telling you my story, I'm telling you my story, and you will pick what you get from it. I have told it to you. So we speak to an audience, but we speak for ourselves. Now, the process that we have developed at Engage over the last 3.5 years is to work with people and upskill people to share their stories and experiences for an audience. So you're pouring yourself out to an audience for them to be able to pick something that they can use in their lives. We now have a lot of people who have expressed interest to speak. So before, we would it would either be people we knew or people who've been recommended by people we know. The last 10, 15 engages, we've been very fortunate to meet and have people speak at Engage that we would never have met. I mean, our paths would never have crossed. They've seen it on YouTube, they've seen on Facebook, they've been told by someone, they write to us, we have a meeting with them, and yeah, you get to meet awesome people.
And I met this Maasai girl, tall, slender. It's the kind of girl you see in Kenya Airways adverts, if you remember. And I told her of my intentions that, you know what, looking for a Maasai girl. And she said, I'm looking for someone who's tall, muscular, dark skin, wide shoulders, and you can obviously see that I don't have any of those.
We have received interest from several countries. People asking, can we do this Engage thing in Ghana? We want to do this Engage thing in Senegal, in Nigeria, in Uganda. We're actually going to Uganda this weekend for the first one. And so the balancing act is, which ones do we pick? So the simplest way we do it is we are guided by the theme. So we theme each one of them. The last one was, we've had Life is Fair. The last one was Work in Progress. The upcoming one in June is Be Bold, Be Foolish. So we pick speakers, and we're limited to 5. Pick speakers based on who has not only the most compelling story based on the theme, but how do we then balance between gender, age, and diversity of stories, so that we don't have life love mothers where everyone is talking about how their mother struggled and how they love their mother. We all do, but you need a diversity of stories. And that's how we've been selecting. But recently, a few months ago, we started something we're calling Engage Plus. So we're limited to 5 speakers because we do it on a Saturday evening, and there's a preparation process of about a month and a half, 4 speaker meetings where they prepare to tell their stories for the audience, to an audience. And now we have what we call Engage Plus. Engage Plus is an interview like you're doing with me, and you share your story on a couch, either as an individual, family, spouses, and we feel that that way we can capture many more stories, because the largest audience, the audience that needs to hear this more, is not even for the live show, because we're limited to the number of people we can hold in the theater, and we're not about to do it in Kasarani, because some of the stories that are shared are really, really personal, so the speaker needs to feel confident. Is online. Online is now available to almost anyone. Kenya has one of the highest penetration of mobile and internet usage. And if you can tell your story that can be useful to someone, and we put it up on YouTube or put it up on Facebook, we have people as far as Kyrgyzstan watching Engage videos. So, you know, when you look at the analytics, you're like, okay, interesting. Yes.
I decided to break it off. That relationship ended sadly. It was very sad. No drama, no tears, no serious discussion, no why am I the victim here, none of that, just sad.
I didn't think it would grow this big. It's not even to date a conversation that we've had of, oh my goodness, can you see how big it's grown? And then we want to be much bigger and take over the world. Because we are constantly learning, I think that has been our fear in planning too big, and we're still not too sure what we're doing, but it seems that whatever it is, we're doing it right. Especially because for the vast majority of people who watch, they don't know and they really don't care who's behind it. That means it's going well. Because if we stepped out, it would not stop. The impact is bigger than us. I think for me that has been the most gratifying. An incident where a friend of mine was sitting somewhere and people were discussing this Engage thing. And they were talking about the people who run it, who are fictional characters, because, you know, in Nairobi, people know many things. And I was thinking, this is amazing. There's people who don't know us and don't need to know us, who are getting fulfilled.
I was devastated. I was completely devastated. And then a friend, close friend who knew me, a lady came and tried to console me. She said, Pete, these ladies don't fully appreciate who you really are. They don't appreciate it just because they don't see a future with you, because you don't seem to have money.
Have we figured out this Engage thing? No, I don't think it will ever be like figuring out how to make a standard size of a table. And especially because we're dealing with human beings, there's all kinds and sorts of us. So if we figure out a trajectory that fits in a box, we may miss opportunities, but we know where we want to go based on the feedback we have received and the interest we have received, and what we have had is we're growing to be the largest collection of African stories and experiences that anyone can come and draw from.